What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. So real quick before we jump into this badass, amazing content, I want to give our sponsors a plug that make all this possible. So our first sponsor is www.perfectstormnow.com. Front-end lead generation, real estate specific lead generation software. It's a brilliant branding site, lead generation site. Not only do we provide you an epic, amazing site, we coach you for hours every single month, you guys. We have private mastermind groups where we walk you through and teach you how to be a lead generation machine. So it's not just a website, it's a coaching platform where we teach you how to become a lead generation and a lead conversion to client machine. Our second sponsor is my personal mentorship program, my 90-day mastery bootcamp, right? So recently with the 90-day mastery bootcamp, we have added our alumni program. It's a $50 a month program that you have daily access to me in our own private Facebook group, right? We have 2 monthly live sessions that are 2 hours long every single week. And again, you have daily access to me. We also have 2 live in-person events every 6 months. Every 6 months, we do a live event here in Phoenix Metro. They're 2 days long each event. We don't bring in speakers. There's nothing to sell. It's just hardcore masterminding, 20 hours of just hardcore badass content throughout those sessions. That's $50 a month. But in order to get into that program, you guys, you have to, the initiation fee, if you will, is the 90-day mastery bootcamp. We only want people in that program, real estate agents in that program, that know the process, that are going out there, that are getting results, know the process. So for the first time ever, we're allowing on our 90-day mastery bootcamp, splitting up into 3 payments. That program is $997. We're splitting up into 3 payments with no finance fee. So www.90daymastery.com. Promo code Live Mastery. There's only a few events left this year. If you have any questions about that event, shoot me an email, joshua@gsdmode.com. Also, make sure to jump into the private Facebook group. We just created a GSD Mode private Facebook group. It's a free group. So it's a place to make sure that you guys aren't missing out on any content. Also, a great place for you to mastermind and hang out with and be around other like-minded people. So anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and let's jump on into the show.
Let's do it, man.
All right. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. Every single week, we interview top entrepreneurs and just straight up top badasses out there dominating their space. These are people that are choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but choosing to go out there and create epic lives for themselves and for their families and their communities. So today, guys, another special guest on the show. This is a entrepreneur, real estate agent that's went out there and created a very, very successful mega team, one of the top teams, not just in the country, but on the planet. So really stoked and honored to have Matt Curtis on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me, Josh. It's an exciting time for me as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you being here, man. I know you're busy and really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share with the audience, man, of your journey and your story. So that being said, let's just jump on in, man, because I know you're doing a lot of big things today. Your business, I read somewhere that you've grown like 700% in the last 5 years, and things keep taking off. But before we get into all that, dude, I'm always interested in how this whole journey began for our guests. Like, how did you get started in entrepreneurship in the first place?
Yeah, great question. So I guess long story short is I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and real estate is kind of the avenue that I explored to do that. My degree and background is in computer engineering. And so I had a sales engineering job here in Huntsville, and long story short, I started investing. I couldn't find an agent I felt comfortable with. So typical engineer, I was like, all right, forget it. I'll just go get my own license and do it myself. And so I did that for a while, came to a fork in the road, and I just realized I couldn't do both. And so I jumped into real estate, full time.
Yeah. So, okay. So you get licensed really to solve a need, to solve a problem, right? Or one of your own problems, and then you decide to jump into it full time, right? So, right. But we know this statistic, dude. 90% of agents failed the first 3 years. It's a very, very difficult business. What did you do right when you jumped in full time? Like, what were some of the things? Because you had to shift, right? It was literally just your own assets, and now you're going out there and trying to gain a career. So, walk us through the first year or two, man. I mean, what did you do to get business, and what was that like?
Yeah, a couple of things. It's probably the worst timing. My wife and I, as family, both thought we were crazy. We're building a new house at the time. My wife was pregnant with a new child. I actually interviewed with a builder, and I told my wife, okay, if it doesn't have benefits, if I'm working nights, if I'm working weekends, all these things, then I'm not going to do it. And so long story short is, I did get a job with one of the top builders in town. So what I always recommend people that are new to the business to do one of two things. A, go to work for a builder, or B, go work for, kind of a mega team like ourselves, so that you can focus on being a good agent and not having to lead generate from day one.
Yep. Yeah, love it, man. So, all right. So then, okay. So you're working for the builder, but today you've got your team. You're doing. You're probably still doing some new builds, but you're also doing residential resale. Well, at what point did you decide, man, I gotta get away from this new build, because a new build's really another job, right? So,
it is. Yeah,
so at
what
point did you decide to make that shift into running your own operation?
Yeah, so I was with the builder for about 3.5 years. Basically started doing some things I didn't feel comfortable with. So I needed to make a shift myself. And so I've had my own team for about, I guess, I've had my own office for 7 years and been actually building a team for 5.
Okay.
So that's kind of how it went down. So the first couple of years was all about just kind of job ownership. It was building my pipeline back up. So I was doing 50 deals a year with the builder. I was his top agent for those 3.5 years. I had to build my income back up, but it was all about kind of job ownership. And then I got some good mentorship in the real estate industry and talking about, hey, you're really missing the boat. You really need to start expanding this thing and build a team. So that's what we started doing about 5 years ago. We've grown. Based on projections this year, we're going to do somewhere between 4 to 450 sales. So we've grown about 800 to 900% during that 5-year journey.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. That's awesome, dude. So, all right, so you make that shift from that new builder to yours, and the reason I ask is because we have so many agents that are either listening to this right now that are thinking about getting into the business, or
right.
They're switching from corporate America into business, or maybe they're just struggling, right? So you went from, I'm not saying that new builds are I mean, it's a lot, it's all work, right?
Sure, yeah.
But, a lot of times, I mean, they're doing a lot of marketing, and you got a lot of traffic that's coming to you. Now you got to go out there and get your own traffic. What were some of those things that you did in the beginning, and maybe you're still doing them, but that made that successful, so you could to fish for yourself, if you will?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that often goes unnoticed is just mindset. Like I literally, I was going to find a way. So I'm going to tell you how I did it, but if I didn't do it that way, I was going to find out a different way to do it. Yeah. Like, my family was on the line, and my dreams and my career was on the line. So I was going to find a way to do it. So that's first and foremost. What I tell everybody is, I learned the formula to success, doubling your income. There's some study out of California where you double your income by reading an hour a day in your chosen profession. You can double your income every 2 years with that method. And every time I've done that by listening to podcasts like yours, and reading real estate and sales and marketing and how to build a team and culture, that's where my income has continued to double. But to answer your question, as far as what we did to lead generate, at the time, the whole PPC game was still early. And fortunately, there was a product called Tiger Leads that was available in our market. And, I took the risk on Tiger Leads, and it paid off.
Yep. Yeah, I love it, man. I get this all the time from people that are like, oh, well, my coach said you got to start doing direct mail. Online leads don't work. And to me, I just always shake my head, because there's too many dudes like you and I out there, and they're top producers saying, like, kill it with online leads.
Yeah. I mean, we did 100 deals last year off of online leads, not even counting the residuals where they're coming back years later and selling and buying again with us again.
Yeah, I love it, man. So, which we'll kind of circle back into that, because it's not the online leads that are successful. It's your guys' follow-up protocol that's successful. Right. And that's just it's lead generation. The part is lead conversion. That's hard as hell. So I definitely want to circle back to that. But I'm interested at what point, so you're doing this, you're jamming, you're having business. At what point did you know that you needed to start a team? And at what point did you actually pull the trigger on that?
Yeah, so we actually, we referenced Tiger Leads, and so Howard, the previous owner of Tiger Leads was a good mentor of mine, and we were just talking, and he actually, I went to one of his conferences and learned from other, top agents from across the country. I was just writing notes the whole conference. I had probably 30 pages worth of notes. Came back, wrote a business plan on how I was going to create my team and run it. So it's really a lot from his mentorship and going to that initial Tiger League conference that sparked a lot for me.
So we see a lot of people that are like, "Hey, man, I'm just busting out of the seams. I've hit a capacity. I need to start
Yeah.
growing my team." But a lot of people hire the wrong person. I mean, who was your first hire?
Yeah, so my first hire was a previous client of mine who is still with me right now, and it was the best hire I've ever made. I really kind of looked into this one, but she is our closing coordinator. She was kind of an admin closing coordinator. We've got her license. She's closed over 3,000 homes. She's the best in the state at what she does.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. All right, so you hire your first admin, then of course it starts racking up with agents. One thing that we find, and I've experienced this and had to learn this the hard way, that your ability of being a great agent, like you can go out there and sell a lot of homes yourself. But it's one thing to do that, and it's another thing to lead your people. What were
Right.
some of those, initial mistakes that you made? I hate the word mistakes because they're our best learning experiences. But what were some of those initial learning experiences that you made that you had to learn from and grow from when you first started out with your team?
I've had a ton of learning opportunities over the last couple of years, but we would be at 2,000 sales a year if I knew what I was doing in the beginning. I guess for somebody like me that knows the technology, has that computer engineering background, so I always knew the technology, I always had the systems down. What I didn't know how to do, what engineering school and real estate didn't teach me, was how to build a business, how to build a culture. And so that's really been like our main focus over the last 8 months. And during that time, we've like literally doubled our company. We went from around 10 team members to over 20 now, and a little over 200 sales to over 400 is what we're going to do this year.
Yep, that's
So,
killer, man.
so it's really all about culture.
Yep. So are you personally still involved in selling, or have you got to the point now where you're just the CEO of your team and
Yeah.
watching everybody?
Yeah, so I stepped out of production a couple of years ago, which you can become a mega team and still produce on your own. You can't take care of culture and lead gen and everything else that you need to do. So yeah, I stepped out a couple of years ago, kind of a little bit of anomaly. We do work with a builder now, and we had a neighborhood that we didn't have an agent for yet, and so I did a little launch for them. We did sell 11 homes in 2 hours last December, but other than that, I've been on the sidelines.
Yep. Yep. Love it, man. So give us an idea because people will hear 20 agents or 20 people on a team. I know they're not all practicing licensed agents, I'm sure, but when they hear that, they're like, holy crap. Like, give us an idea of what that looks like. What are the roles? Kind of what are the breakdowns?
Yeah, so I mean, literally, it's just one step at a time. But basically, so first hire was Denise, my closing coordinator. So your first hire needs to be an admin. Take care of any kind of low dollar productive activity off your plate. Next couple of hires were for me showing agents. Showing agents allowed me to kind of stay in the game with a client. Do the buyer agency agreement, do the contract, and then still get a really high rate of return since, there's break points in real estate. Like we were doing 50, 60 deals. And then, I mean, you can go to 100 sales, build this big team and make less money. Yeah. And so for me, it was always about maintaining, not only increasing our sales, but also increasing our bottom dollar as well. So we started out with the showing agent model. So right now, though, to your question, we have on our admin team, we have 3 people in our closing department, 2 licensed closing coordinators and an assistant. And we have a part-time runner that puts out signs. We do mega open houses. They do all that. I have somebody that does the front desk. It's front desk / kind of assistant to me. And then we have a listing manager that inputs all the listings, does the marketing, schedules photography, that sort of thing. So that's the admin side of the business. Oh, and then we do have a part-time recruiter as well. So that's the admin side. And then the breakdown on the other side is, the majority of the team members are buyer's agents. I have one full-time listing partner that's on pace to sell over 100 homes this year. And then I've got 2 agents that are becoming full-time listing partners that are also helping out buyers as well to get their volume in.
Yep. So you have it segmented. So you have agents that are only focused on buyers, agents that are only focused on listings.
We do, and we have a couple hybrids. So as you build up your listing inventory, we still allow them to do buyers as well until they get that listing inventory up.
Yep, I love it, man. Love it. So do you still operate the showing agent model now that you stepped out of production?
We have, so we hired so yes, to answer your question. Our natural progression on our team is buyer's agent to listing agent, but not everybody likes to work with sellers. So we have some agents that'll top out at 4, 5, 6 deals a month. That's just all they can physically do on the buyer side. And so opportunity for our team is to bring a showing agent underneath those agents to allow them to start to do 7, 8 plus deals per month.
Yep, awesome, man. Love it, dude. So okay, so when it comes to your agents on your team, one thing that a lot of people struggle with is how many leads do I give to an agent? And it's kind of this delicate dance, right? Because it's like if you give them too many, there's no way they can work it. They're just going after the lowest hanging fruit. But you want to provide enough, to make sure that they're out there producing. Have you been able to kind of crack the code internally on what that looks like?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. A lot of people are asking that question right now. I don't know that there's a set answer because every agent is different in their capacity. And so we try to figure out agent capacities. Kind of a general rule of thumb that I've heard kind of lingering out there in the market, 30 to 50. We made huge mistakes in the past. We used to do round robin on all the leads, and we had one agent that had like 2,000 leads assigned to themselves, and it was just ridiculous. They weren't converting anything off of that percentage. So we really try to max out most of our agents at 50. Some agents 75 to 100, just depending on their capability and whether they have a showing agent or not.
Yeah, love it, man. So how do you inspect what you expect, right? Because you're providing these agents always leads. But you got to protect your. I mean, this is really you got to protect your investment. So how are you inspecting what you expect with these agents?
Yeah, that's funny that you say that. We've got the background in my home office, but if we were in my real office at work, I actually had that quote in my office: is inspect what you expect. So we're again, computer engineering, a lot of reports. We're really, really data centric. So, a couple of things. One big shift in our company culture and what's really helped make us thrive is having weekly agent one-on-ones where they report their goals and then they report back, how they did. So calls, appointments, sales, what training they need. So it holds them accountable on a weekly basis. What used to happen is, an agent starts to drift. They're not doing what they need to do. They start to get a sour attitude, and it gets to be too late to course correct. But now we kind of have those weekly one-on-ones, and it's course correction immediately when we need it. So that's the big thing. We track all the call numbers, we track all the appointments, we track all the sales. So we've got a lot of science behind it. One thing that we're doing right now, which is going to be a big game changer for us, is we're going to go to Salesforce, which is going to help automate a lot of our reporting.
Yeah, love it, man. So we talked earlier about your success with online leads, and a lead is a lead, right? It's okay. What are you doing with this lead? How frequently are you following up? How hard are you hitting them? And you guys obviously do a great job with that. So maybe walk us through if I'm an internet lead that comes into your funnel, in your system, what does that look like, dude? How quickly are you hitting them? What does the follow up look like? Like, how are you guys doing so much business and so much lead conversion?
Yeah, so really a lot of it depends on the type of lead. So we kind of put leads in two categories. Number one is like your typical internet lead. They fill out a registration form on one of our websites, or a hand raiser lead. A hand raiser lead is somebody that calls us directly off of Zillow or one of our signs, or or a Google ad, or something where they're calling us. So the direct calls, we use a system called Dialogue Tech, where we can do, call 3 agents at a time. If those 3 don't answer, roll to the next 3 to ensure that those really hot leads get taken care of right now. The internet leads is, ideally you call them in the first 5 minutes. That's a big challenge when you don't have an inside sales department. What we found is, there's a statistic out there that you call somebody 6 times, you have a 90% probability of reaching them. And so we basically have our agents sign up for 3 shifts a day. We call morning, lunch, and, between 4 to 6. We try to catch them that first day or that second day. And, with those 6 calls, those first 2 days, we have a 90% probability of reaching them.
Yep, love it, dude, love it, man. What do you guys when you're calling, when you're reaching out? I mean, are you just like hit them hard, kind of bottom line up front, trying to snag that appointment? Is it a concierge close? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's all about service, and it's all about service with moving, progressing in the sales cycle. So you're getting an appointment for something. You're either getting an appointment because they're in town, they're ready to look, or you're getting an appointment to be able to follow up with them next week or next month or whenever the established follow-up time is. But you got to lead with service. It's kind of the whole give and take approach. It's hard to get something back. Law of reciprocity. It's hard to get something until you've provided them with something. So you're finding what information they need and then asking for the close, for the appointment.
Yeah, love it. So 450 transactions this year, which is just insane. I mean, that's well over, obviously, a house a day, right? Like,
yeah.
How big do you want to take this thing, man?
Yeah, good question. So our next 48-month goal, 2 years, is we want to be part of the 1,000 sale club. So we're ramping up right now with interviews. Our goal next year is 700. The goal after that is the next year is 1,000. The 10-year goal, I'm a big believer in Jim Collins, 20-mile march. So 20 to 40% growth over the next 10 years. That's going to put us around 6,500 transactions in 10 years.
Yeah, I love it, man. So do you because now the next kind of like big fad, no, I don't want to say fad, it's probably not the right word, but we're seeing a lot of expansion teams,
right?
Right? Because they're like, wow, 6,500 transactions, can that happen in my marketplace? And is that something that you're kind of having on your radar, is the expansion model?
So we plan to expand. I don't know that we plan to expand in a lot of ways that people are expanding right now. Yeah, personally, I think it is a little bit of a fad. It sounds cool to be saying, hey, I'm in 5 or 6 different cities. It makes more business sense to me to dominate your market first. Yeah. And then to expand to a different city. So I think too many people are kind of getting ahead of themselves because it just sounds cool. So we don't operate under a franchise, so we won't be expanding in that way. We're an independent company, so we'll be opening new offices with just the same model that we have now.
Yep, I love it. Yeah, I know. I've always had the same, because I get the question too all the time. Like, dude, are you going to expand? Are you going to go in these different locations? And I'm in Phoenix Metro, man. You got a million rooftops. There's so much to expand. I've got a guy that I know in my marketplace. He's got four teams in 4 different cities all throughout the country, and each one's doing 20 million. I guess it's a lot of travel time. Like, why not? You can easily do 200 million here. Why not? So I think I share that same mindset with you there.
Exactly. So, it's kind of like, to me, it's the whole Jim Collins fire bullets before you fire cannonballs too. It's like, why are you going all across the country when, dominate your market, go to a city that's 30 minutes away? I mean, why are you flying across the city, across the country when you make sure it works 30 minutes away before you have to fly all the way to California to make sure it works?
Yep. No, I agree, man. Absolutely. So, going on, when it comes to you personally, dude, because you're obviously a dude that's extremely driven. We find so often that good very easily becomes the worst enemy to greatness. Where things are good
Sure.
enough. I mean, obviously you're making some good coin.
Yeah.
Like you could just be like, dude, I'm just gonna enjoy life, kind of kick back and chill. Like, what keeps you driving, grinding, so you don't accept good enough in your world?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I was listening to somebody else that you'd interviewed today, and I think it's pretty much the same answer. You can't teach drive. It's just there,
Yeah.
and so I used to always tell my wife, well, when we reach this and we're going to start slow down, and she's like, no, you're not going to slow down. And she was right. She knew me, because it's not just about, putting the money in the bank and that sort of thing. It's about climbing the next mountain. It's once you reach the mountain, that's not what it's about. It's about the journey climbing that mountain. So it's seeing how good you can become. And so that's what drives me is, not only making money for myself, because at some point, we've got enough money, we're fine. It's, one of the things that we do is we build a house for a family in Nicaragua for every 100 homes that we sell. So, stuff like that, being able to give back to the local community and then globally is kind of what helps drive me as well.
Yeah, and I love it. To the rest of the world, they may not get it, or they might think of it as greed, but it's just they don't understand it, right? It's you fall in love with the process. You hit your 450 homes, like, all right, let's celebrate for 30 seconds. All right, now let's get to that 700.
Yeah, exactly. It's a game. And the other thing too is, sometimes I feel myself, I could kind of kick back a little bit and get comfortable, but that's not what my team signed up for. They signed up to advance and have career opportunities and that's how they achieve their goals, is for us to continue to grow.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love it. So, what is somebody that's pushing as hard as you with your production, and obviously you have a family plus your business. I mean, what does a typical day look like for you, dude?
Yeah, good question. So, the great thing about having a team is it is a Monday through Friday kind of deal. Typically, I'm able to work 40 to 50 hours a week. Right now, I've got just major projects all hitting at once. And so it's crazy, 70, 80 hours probably right now. So that's just part of life. It's counterbalancing. It's kind of like an airplane. To take off, you got to put a ton of work in to get that engine up off the ground. And then once you get there, you can maintain it. And so that's any cycle of business. Anytime we've grown, there's been just a ton of work to get there. And then it kind of levels back off, and then you decide to grow again, you put a ton of work in. So, typically Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then, I've got different projects I'm working on, sometimes at nights and on the weekends.
So how do you keep yourself, because it's very difficult to I guess stay regimented, to not allow yourself to get distracted, to stay focused, stay on task. I mean, do you have any kind of personal scheduling tactics or things that you follow to make sure you're not deterring and staying productive with that?
Yeah, anytime you can automate something in your life, you don't have to think about what to do next. That's really the name of the game to success, is automate as much as you can. And so, yeah, I guess what helps me and keeps me driven is I work out in the morning. That gets me going, gets me awake. I drink the same protein shake every morning. So I've kind of got my little routine in the morning. So yeah, I mean, routine is what it's all about.
Yep, couldn't agree more, man. So, you've dropped some books, and everybody that obviously is at your level of success is usually also a student of the game. They're all about growth. What are some of your favorite books that you'd recommend to our listeners, recommend to your audience, that have helped you grow your business to the level that you've grown them, that you recommend?
Yeah, so I'm sitting here in my private office here, our home office. I can look up, look at some of my favorite books. But as far as like authors in general, so marketing, I love Seth Godin stuff. Seth Godin's huge, The Dip, Lynchpin, some of those type of books. Cannot go wrong with Seth Godin. Jim Collins has been huge for our business. Great by Choice is my favorite. Good to Great's a great one as well. I actually, believe it or not, I don't know if you know who Dave Ramsey is. Not so much. Like, we follow a lot of what he does, like conservative wise with, financial peace and stuff, but not that side of his business. But Entree Leadership is actually a really good book. He has a really good summit. Like, I went out to that, met Jim Collins and Seth Godin, Patrick Lencioni, and all those guys. George Bush was there. He has a really good podcast as well. So Entree Leadership is really good. Patrick Lencioni is great. From a sales standpoint, probably somebody that a lot of your listeners hasn't heard of, mentor of mine, John Palumbo. He's like the Napoleon Hill of new home sales. So he really focuses a lot on new home sales, but it really translates a lot to just general real estate sales. I've learned a lot of my psychology from him. So those are a few. Do you want to keep going?
No, you're good. Yeah, that's good, man. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, man. I mean, I love Patrick Lencioni, dude. I mean, and Entre Leadership. I don't want to say I was hesitant, but when I first heard about the book, I'm like, yeah, dude, I get the financial piece, but I don't want to live off top ramen. And then I read the book, and holy crap, it blew my mind. I made my whole leadership team read the book, and anybody that's wanting to grow their internal culture, I mean, that book, it'll blow your mind.
Yeah, and they live by it too. Like, I've spent the day with Dave Ramsey and his team at his office, and I've never been to a company where there were so many people fired up to do their day-to-day job. I mean, they've got like 450 people now. Yeah. So they definitely live by it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I was asked a question, dude, and I was kind of stumped by it, man. So I apologize if I stump you here, but I was asked this yesterday. I was asked to do a jump onto a large team's their team meeting, and they Skyped me in and wanted me to help train some of their agents. And one of the agents in there asked me, hey, if you could meet with anybody, like from history, Pat, like whatever, like if you could meet with anybody, alive or dead, who would that be, and what are like the top 2 or 3 questions that you would ask them?
Oh man, that is a good one. I can see why you got stumped. Yeah, question wise, I don't know. Probably the generic answer would be, like Jesus or God or, something like that. But just from a general person standpoint, really probably the person I would like to meet the most is actually living now is Jim Collins.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy just blows me away with his books.
Yeah. I love it, man. That's awesome, dude. So, this is a question I ask all our guests. So I'm sure you've thought about this one, you've heard this one anyway in the past. But something happens today, dude. You're financially wiped out. Your team gets wiped out. You're starting from scratch. And let's take a step further and say like you get transplanted to Phoenix, Arizona. So you don't know anybody either, but you've retained everything that you've learned through all of the years of doing what you've done. What are the first things you'd immediately go do to go out there and rebuild your business?
Yeah. And I think the cool thing is once you get to a team, this level, and the thing is you could be wiped out, you could go rebuild it easily, any part of the country. So, first thing I would do is, start selling again, obviously, build up that reserves, continue to reinvest my reserves like I've done back into the business. But from like a free lead generation, probably the best free leads that we've gotten, 2 things. Number one, it's going to take a little bit of time if you go to a new city, but build up your review profile. Whether it be Zillow or Google. I mean, we get calls all the time off of our reviews because we're the #1 review team in the state. So that's one. Number 2 is I would buy 40 to 50 really high quality signs that I could use for open houses. And I'd put those signs all over the city and just do mega open houses on the weekends to build my lead pool up.
Yep. No quicker way to now business, man. I love them. So, all right, dude. So okay, let's talk about those reviews, those testimonials, man. Because you've got a ton of them. You obviously get a lot of business of them. That's the cool thing. Like, you don't even have to be a member of Zillow or a paying member to go out there and have 300 reviews. Right? But it's a pain in the ass to get them. Right? It's like, what are you guys doing that you're able to get so many? Like, at what point in the transaction? What are you saying? How are you getting your clients to give those to you?
Yeah, good question. So the first thing that we did was we sent a mass email out to our database. And literally we went from 0 reviews on Zillow to being number 1 in our area, like within a week. And so I think you do that by providing good service. I mean, it's going to sound like a cop out, but really, I mean, for somebody to take the time to fill out a review for you, that experience has to have been memorable. So that's what we really focus on. That's one of our key, core values, is providing that awesome experience for our client. And so what we do, I mean, it's really simple. We provide great customer service to the client, and then we follow up with them after they close, ask them to fill out a review. And then we'll tell them too, thank you for filling out the review. We'll give them a $5 Starbucks gift card. So I know they're not doing it for the $5 Starbucks gift card, but it was, our way to show thanks. So law of reciprocity, I can't even say it, the law of reciprocity. If you provide great value to somebody, I mean, they're going to be happy to help you out as well.
Yeah. And then I think the key there too is yeah, they want to do it, they're happy to do it, but as you continue to follow up on it, it's not like, hey, just do this, because the reality is your clients may love you and love your service, but dude, they just closed, they're moving in, they're stressed, they're trying to get utilities on, and then you got to go on Zillow and create an account, big pain in the ass for the client. So it's not that they don't want to, it's just, man, they got so many things going on, so you guys got to follow up, man. It's just how it goes.
Yeah, it's just follow up, and two, know that the best thing to do is catch them at an experience where they're happy. Just sign the contract. They just, you worked out something on request for repairs. If not, don't call them 2 days after closing. They're busy. Wait 2 weeks, wait 3 weeks, give them a call then. Another little thing that we did is, like the Google review has a really, if you get the link and you try to send it to them, it's super long. And it kind of looks like spam. And so what we did is we bought our own domain to forward to it. So we have 5 stars Google and 5 stars Zillow.com. Yep. And that, that kind of gives the embedded message too that you're wanting a 5-star review.
Yep. No, that's killer, man. So, all right, dude. So for a lot of drivers, a lot of entrepreneurs that are just CEO style, hardcore drivers, very difficult to shut it off. Okay, yeah, you're sitting here at the office 50 hours a week, but dude, up here, it never gets shut off, right?
No, it never shuts off.
Yeah, so what are some things that you do, though, to kind of be human, if you will, so you can enjoy some time with the family? And because it's so easy to get sucked into this 24/7, live, eat, and breathe it, and neglect everything else.
Yeah, and what I've actually found is the more I get out of the office, the more I go on trips, the more I just get out and read, and just get out of the office. That's actually where I make my money. When the distractions are away and I have the ideas, and I'll just write them down. Like I literally have 30 pages worth of ideas I've got scheduled to implement. So what we do, or what I do, is I take a lot of vacations. I take every one of my kids on their own daddy trip each year. I built a house in Nicaragua. Couple trip with my wife, just a lot of different trips, and a lot of conferences that I go to. So I try to take about a trip every month. And then I've also coached a ton of basketball as well. So that's, another thing that I do with my kids.
Yeah. I love it, man. So what are some of the favorite pieces of technology that you've incorporated, let's say in the last 12 months in your business? Systems, technology, whatever it may be, an app that you guys are just loving.
Yeah, so technology-wise, we're real big into Google Apps, Google for Business. We do a lot of our spreadsheets and tracking. We've got a guy in Egypt that does kind of this programming for us that spits out all of our sales and our conversion percentages, you name it, return on investment, our lead count, all through Google Apps. We're transitioning all that to something that's a little more robust than Salesforce. So technology-wise, that's been the big challenge. Is there's so many different pieces that you're trying to piece together. So we've used the Commission Zincs, the Boomtowns, the Tiger Leads, and what we've actually gone to is real estate webmasters building out our own website, bilaterally integrating those leads into Salesforce, and having just kind of one basic platform where everybody can work out of.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. I'm a big Google Drive buff too, and it's free, dude. You know,
Exactly.
right? It's free, and you
Our-
can access from your
yeah.
phone, and there's just so much
Yes.
intel.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love it. You know, the success is in the spreadsheets, right? It's not the sexy, fun thing. Like when most realtors, it's pain for them because they want to be out there in the action. But you guys, dude, that's where the success lies. You have to know your numbers. It's like there's one secret to this business, or there, I guess, two. Know your numbers intimately and run the lowest overhead you possibly can.
Absolutely.
So how often are you, because this is something a lot of real estate agents struggle with, and obviously, I mean, I'm asking this question because it's very obvious that you treat this as a business, right? I mean, you're an entrepreneur first, a business owner first, realtor second. How often are you reviewing, your overall numbers as far as your P&L statements and all that within your business to make those decisions?
Yeah, great question. So we're looking at P&L statements once a month. We're looking at sales numbers pretty much daily.
Yeah.
So that spreadsheet that I was talking to you about has, pending sales, pending commissions. So we're always looking at those numbers.
So as you expand and as you grow with doing these one-on-ones, because obviously you can only do so many as it's not going to be
Yep.
scalable. I mean, is that kind of your next key hire is to have an inside like head of agent development kind of a
Man, that's a great question. So I do have a trainer that's helped a lot with the training. So she's a part-time trainer, full-time agent, which has been a huge help. But we kind of realized that same thing. I've got over 20 people reporting to me. I think the rule of thumb what the military does is like 4 to 5 per leader. And so that kind of hit me in the face. And when I looked at my numbers where we're trying to get to 40 team members, down really quick. So what we're doing is we're actually doing weekly leadership training at our office. And so I'm running the leadership training, talking about one-on-ones, talking about just general culture and business and how to lead people. So at the end of that training, we plan on graduating 4 or 5 team leaders. So they have 4 or 5 people directly reporting to them. And kind of the end game in that as well is the team lead is the next step to be, what we'd call like a Dave Ramsey model, office EVP, somebody that's running their own office.
Yep, I love it, man. Love it, dude. It's awesome stuff, brother. So, if I don't know, I lost my train of thought, man, which never happens in the damn podcast. All right, so yeah, no, man, I love it, dude, and that's why you're so successful, dude. Right? Because you're like I said, you're attacking this from a place of a lens of an entrepreneur, which very few realtors do. So this has been it's been a dope interview, man. It's been awesome having you on. I started this podcast because I wanted to create a place for you have so many of these trainers, so many of these gurus that are out there, a lot of them that haven't been in this space. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I wanted to create a space where we went out there and interviewed the doers, guys like yourself that are in the trenches, that are actually creating it and sharing your story. So those that are listening to this podcast, they're listening, dude, because they want to go out there and take their lives and business to the next level. With that being said, do you have any last piece of inspiration or advice or motivation that you'd like to give our listeners so they can go out there and create the life they know they want and deserve?
Yeah, absolutely. Keep listening to this podcast. I mean, literally the reason I'm taking time out of my busy schedule is because it's podcasts like yours that has made our business what it is. So I'm always listening to like your podcast and some of the other stuff that's out there that's been out there in the past and getting ideas from other agents and picking and choosing what fits our model and what we want to do. So, number one, keep listening. Number 2 is don't try to do it all at once. That's the biggest thing. People go to conferences, they got 30 ideas and they try to change their whole business overnight. It just doesn't work. Pick one thing at a time, master it, move on.
Yep, love it. Powerful words. And to those of you that are listening and watching, I know interview podcasts with this, you guys, but information without implementation is just the start of delusion, right? When we take action on the information that we're learning, that's when it creates power in our world. So Matt shared so much great info, so many golden nuggets with you guys today. Take something he shared, something that you learned, take action on it right now. Don't wait. Take immediate action. Go out there and implement, and you'll go out there and create that life that you know that you want and deserve. And Matt, dude, this has been a huge honor, man. I know how busy you are, dude. This has been an awesome time. Really appreciate you being here, brother.
Honor's all mine. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it, my friend. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for watching and listening, and we will see you next time.